All right, let's talk about Rashan Gary, a guy who I think we sort of 2 years ago felt like he really took the leap into being an elite edge rusher, but last year it wasn't quite as dominant. If you look at his box score stats, they're certainly pretty significantly down, although it's also worth noting he wasn't a huge sack guy in 2021, but again, sacks are not always the best indicator of future success. A lot of luck goes into sacks, and a lot of his advanced stats were actually really good in 2021. But what's definitely worth noting, and what some Packers fans are probably already screaming at their screen, is that in 2022 he was hurt, so he didn't play a ton, and that's why some of the numbers are down. In fact, actually the 6 sacks for the amount of snaps he had is actually pretty good. Like if you look at his Pro Football Focus grades, you see that he definitely, PFF had him a little bit down in 2022 than he was in 2021. From having a 90 pass rush grade in 2021, dropped down to a still very good 83 pass rush grade, which is good, but not quite elite. But again, only 378 snaps. So it's a small sample size, but the numbers still are the numbers. So I wanted to go, watch some film and talk about how good is he? Is he an elite player or is he a good player? And really just, first way to do that is measure how he was last season. So going over and watching the film, I still saw a lot of really nice things from him. You definitely saw his, I think, explosiveness for sure. Like something like this is a great example of, what he can do well. Right when this play begins, you see how to tackle for the Patriots. Again, for the right tackle, something I always kind of bring up is that typically it's that right arm that is so important, that right hand. Getting that hand placement where you want can be so important. But for Gary, one of the reasons why he was drafted is because of how much of a great athlete he is. That's part of why he was drafted so high. He didn't have the best, analytics and stats coming out of college, but the idea was if we can teach him some of this hand placement and stuff, he can then develop into becoming an elite player. Very similar to a Trayvon Walker style of player. Now, more often than not, those guys tend to miss, but Gary has been the exception to that rule and has hit in a big way. Because of his explosiveness, he's able to get to the point where, the tackle he's going up against can't get the hand placement he wants at all. In fact, he doesn't even have his hand on Gary at this point. So sometimes, as much as technique does matter, at the end of the day, if you can sort of use your athleticism to get by guys, it doesn't matter how good their hands are if they can't get it on you. As you see, Gary blows right by him, and he's able to get to, it's actually Brian Hoyer on that play for a sack. So really good stuff there from Rashan Gary, and these are the kind of things that he's capable of doing and capable of doing consistently. Like this play is another pretty similar example, actually. I'll give you a better angle though, with it now being the angle sort of facing the defensive line instead of facing the offensive line. Where what's going to happen is once again this is a one-on-one matchup against a right tackle, and again it's that right hand, right? Really, you want to get it as far over as you can. You almost want to get it to sort of the left shoulder pad of Gary. That might be where a good ideal hand placement for it to be. However, right when this play begins, you see right here, it is, not only is it nowhere near that, but also Gary can adjust to it. Gary's going to use his right hand and basically almost like a quick rip move, although not, a full rip move, to just knock that hand out of the way. But even if he got the hand placement, I don't really know where you're blocking him. The only hope I would say at this point, if I'm, coaching him is, first, I'm certainly no offensive line coach, but if I were to be the coach here, I would say at this point, don't even worry about trying to block him straight up. Try to push him behind your quarterback. You're not holding him off here. Just try to give your quarterback a little bit more time. However, Gary knocks that right hand away, is able to get over to, that was Bailey Zappi, and not just did he, not only get the sack, he actually knocked the ball out and recovered the football there. The Packers got the ball on that play. So those are some really good plays from Gary, and you definitely saw him be able to do this. Going over to a play like this, his run defense numbers are not as, if you looked at the PFF grades, they're not as dominant as you'll see, compared to his pass rush stuff. And that's, to me, when I watch film, fair. I agree with that. I think that he is, first and foremost, a pass rusher, but he absolutely is capable of stopping the run well. He's certainly not a black hole. I would still say he's actually a good run defender as well. So, this is an example of it, where he's going to be going up one-on-one against a tight end. So, okay, right off the bat, you do expect to kind of win this matchup. And right when this play begins, you see Gary does win this matchup, drives the tight end further back, and the run is actually going to go to this side of the field. It looked like, I couldn't tell, the way this is blocked, if it was designed to go towards the other side of the field and just, the halfback Dalvin Cook has cut back just seemingly, just because of the fact that there's no real room for him to run on that side of the field, or if this is from design from the start. But I'm assuming it was designed to be a run towards the right side of the screen, which is why there was a tight end on Gary in the first place. So now for Gary, you have to take advantage. But the issue is, you don't know which side the running back is going towards. However, watch Gary just throw that tight end off of him, which allows him to get over, and he's able to make the tackle. Again, he's a good run defender. Is this the biggest highlight reel level play you'll ever see? No, probably not. That would be pretty impressive if it was. No, not the biggest highlight reel level play you'll ever see, but still a very good play, and that's kind of what he's capable of doing. And another thing is, they had him play on the inside sometimes. Like this play, he's going to be playing as an interior defensive lineman. Pretty clever setup here for the Packers, where they actually have three defensive linemen who are going to be on that side of the field. So for Gary, basically the way you have to do this is, if you're Cousins, you're making sure that your center is blocking towards your right, so towards the left side of the screen, meaning that, you have a center, a guard, and a tackle blocking those three Packers players. So for Gary, who is currently the second closest towards the left side of the screen, he's going to be going up against the right guard, and basically he knows that, and the guard knows that. Watch how right when this play begins, you see how he kind of gets towards the side of the guard, and this is kind of an interesting situation where, again, you talk about hand placement being so important. At this point, I wouldn't even say this is necessarily bad hand placement by 67 for Minnesota. But watch the power Gary has to still blow by him, because he got enough towards the side, he's able to still get to the quarterback. It's that power and speed and footwork that Gary has that really allows him to, take the next step and become a very talented player for Green Bay. So I guess to answer the question, is Rashan Gary still elite? How do we view him after year 4? Is he elite? I would probably say no, just because I've only seen him be elite for one season. So, for me, I like a bit of a bigger sample size. As great as that sample size was 2 years ago, I did think it was, I kind of agree with PFF in that I thought it was a small step back. He was still very good, but elite, I don't know if I would say that much. I think that, when I think of someone, how I define elite is, could you make an argument for them, if not being the best player, at least like the second or third best player at their position? And I think arguing that he's as good as TJ Watt or Myles Garrett or Nick Bosa, that feels a bit hard to do. I think that he's kind of in that next tier of still, really good, but maybe not quite those guys. Maybe not Micah Parsons. But I certainly think that he is still a star player at the very least, a Pro Bowl caliber player, and I wouldn't be shocked if he plays at an elite level next season. I think that's totally possible. So while he's on his last year of his rookie deal, I think the Packers kind of have a bit of a steal. You still have to pay him, $10.9 million, which is actually not that bad compared to some of the other fifth-year deals that happen. But the reality is, for Gary, I certainly think he is someone who definitely has still shown he's a very good player. I think his floor at this point is a, top 10 edge rusher in football, and his ceiling is still a top 3 edge rusher in football. So that's kind of how I view him. But what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. Always love hearing from y'all. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.